I'd like to talk about how I got into sim racing. And this is going to be kind of an abridged story because I'm going to leave out details, probably things that I don't want to talk about, or maybe just things that I forget to talk about because we are talking about multiple years of story here. So, long story short, I got into sim racing because of depression, I guess. To provide context, after primary school, I went into learning a job in high school. So, we had the normal 4 years, I think, of high school years. I passed that, and then I stayed for extra years to learn a job. Unfortunately, around that time is when my grandparents were pushing me to see if my eyes can be saved with LASIK eye surgery. So they pushed it, like, fine, we're gonna visit the clinic, see if my eyes are savable with surgery. And the first clinic told us that no, my eyes are unsavable, and pretty much the best they can do is decrease the strength of the glasses that I would need to wear with the equipment that they have at the time, of course. So, and even then, there would be a chance that the amount they could reduce it could fall into specific zone where it could be like worse than predicted or better than predicted. So there was even a dead zone in that. So I decided to say no thanks. It sucks, but I'm gonna live with glasses. So that completely killed my mood. Not like I enjoyed my time that much in that high school, but this added an extra factor to it. So I didn't get good grades. I had no desire to push full good grades, and because of that, in the last year, one particular class, I just completely flopped. There's no way around it. I flopped. So at the time, I had a driver's license for a moped, and my dad wanted me to get a driver's license for a car. So we tried that, and I failed 8 times. Came close to getting past the questionnaire segment of the test 3 times, but ultimately never got past that part. So with all of that frustration built up, I've decided to get a Logitech steering wheel, and it's been a good few years since then. And yeah, I never looked back, really. In the meantime, we went and checked my eyes at a different clinic and got the surgery actually done, so I don't even have to wear glasses for the time being. There's a chance that I will have to wear them in the future, but that's like when I'm in my 50s or 60s, most likely. So all good. So the thing about sim racing is that you start out with no skill and limited knowledge. So I started out with Project Cars 2 and actually hated Assetto Corsa for the first few months or so before I started to download mods. And over the years, we faced many problems that we had to iron out. And thankfully, I got good support from my family with this hobby of mine. And so an old desk that I used is still the same desk that I use, but it's now white, has different components to it, and it's just as reliable as ever. I can't really say the same thing about my Logitech equipment because the pedals unfortunately failed on me. It's been more than a year since I had to replace them, but thankfully my current pedals, the Fanatec ones, there's not much problem with them. They are comfortable, they're nice to drive with. Occasionally they don't really like the air conditioner, but I can say the same thing about my feet as well because summer is just awful. I really hate it, and the rooms get pretty warm during summer, so I have to use the air conditioner a lot. Problem with mobile air conditioner is that it's good for small rooms, which is my room for example, but the cold air that it pushes out can be very concentrated. So in my case, it's blowing the cold air all the time to my legs, which is a good thing when you race, but it's a terrible thing in long term when you just sit and, for example, edit countless videos down. Outside of that, one of the other changes that sim racing brought for me is that I'm sitting in a car seat, and this is not the first one that I had in my setup. And I have to say, car seats are probably the most comfortable thing that you can sit in long periods, and this one is, I just really like it. Another thing that over time had to be changed out is the monitors that I used. So originally I started out with a smaller screen, then got an extra monitor. Then over time I had to replace one of the monitors, and then later down the line I've upgraded to the setup that I have right now, which is a 4 monitor screen setup. All of them are 1080p, 27 inch and 75 Hz refresh rate. Now that might sound overkill, but it's actually really helpful for when you have to organize stuff on the PC or when you're making liveries for cars. I can multitask much easier with 4 monitors than I was able to do with 2 monitors. I know it sounds such a duh thing, but it's things that you don't really realize unless you experience it yourself. A few other bits also got added over time to the setup, things like a button box or edge pattern shifters or a flight stick, but these are things that I don't always use, and in some cases they have to be very specific reasons to use them. For the flight stick, for example, I bought it to use it as a handbrake, but with the Logitech wheel I never really got around to get into drifting, so if I ever end up upgrading to a direct drive wheelbase, I will use the handbrake a lot more. As it is right now, it's mainly just for button box usage. I have to say though that without sim racing, I would probably not be in this state of mind. I mentioned it at the start of the video that I was in a pretty depressive state, and while I don't think I'm really in a good state right now, so even if it's just like an increment year by year, I'm pretty thankful for this hobby. It manages to keep me interested about it and other things that is connected to it time and time again. I get to meet new people almost monthly, and if I can say it, it keeps me on the edge of the seat. But